The Interstellar Medical Summit was not the kind of place where ordinary people felt comfortable. It was held once every 10 years on the neutral world of Heliora, a beautiful planet covered with white oceans and floating cities. The summit brought together the greatest scientists, doctors, and researchers from across the galaxy to share discoveries that could change the future of medicine. Every major species sent their brightest minds. Humans had only been part of the summit for a short time. That was why Dr. Aaron Blake felt completely out of place. Aaron wasn't a celebrity scientist. He didn't run a famous laboratory or publish groundbreaking papers that changed entire medical fields. He was simply a trauma doctor from Earth who had spent most of his career working in emergency hospitals and remote aid stations. But 3 years earlier, something unusual had happened during a humanitarian mission on a distant colony. Something no one fully understood. And because of that, Aaron had been invited. Now he sat quietly in the enormous conference hall surrounded by alien doctors whose lifespans were centuries long and whose medical technology could rebuild organs or cure diseases humans still struggled with. "Relax," Aaron muttered to himself. "Just listen and try not to embarrass humanity." The hall was enormous, shaped like a wide dome with hundreds of floating seating platforms. Representatives from dozens of species filled the room. Tall insectoid surgeons, floating energy-based researchers, crystalline biologists, and elegant humanoid physicians. At the center stage stood one of the most respected figures in the galaxy. Professor Elora, a renowned physician from the advanced Valerian species. The Valerians were famous for their medical knowledge. Their understanding of biology and genetics was centuries ahead of most civilizations. Professor Elora had gathered everyone here for a very specific announcement. Beside her stood a young Valerian child. She looked about 6 years old. Her skin shimmered with faint golden light, and her eyes held the deep violet color typical of her species. She held her mother's hand quietly while observing the massive audience with curiosity. Aaron leaned toward the translator device in his ear. "Why bring a child to a scientific summit?" he whispered. The device translated a nearby conversation. "Valerians often demonstrate genetic memory through their young," one alien scientist explained to another. Aaron frowned. Genetic memory. He wasn't sure what that meant. Professor Elora raised her hand, and the room slowly became quiet. "Honored colleagues," she began, her voice echoing gently across the chamber. 3 years ago, my research team encountered an extraordinary medical mystery on a remote colony world. Many delegates leaned forward with interest. "During that mission," she continued, "my daughter nearly died." A soft murmur spread through the audience. The child looked calm, as if she had heard the story many times before. "She suffered from a rare biological failure that even Valerian medicine could not immediately repair," Elora said. Aaron felt a strange tension in his chest. Something about this story felt familiar. Professor Elora continued. "Our advanced equipment malfunctioned during the crisis. None of our specialized instruments were functioning properly. For the first time in many years, we faced a situation where our knowledge alone was not enough." The room was completely silent now. "Then," she said slowly, "someone unexpected arrived." Aaron's stomach tightened. "No way." Elora gestured to the large screen behind her. Images appeared showing a small emergency medical station on a distant colony. Aaron recognized it instantly. That was the humanitarian mission he had worked on 3 years ago. The professor spoke again. A human doctor answered the emergency call. Aaron sank slightly into his chair. "Please don't say my name," he whispered under his breath. But the story wasn't finished yet. "My daughter's condition was extremely rare," Elora said. Her internal systems were collapsing faster than any automated treatment could repair. The screen displayed medical scans that even Aaron struggled to understand. We believed she had minutes left. The audience listened carefully. And yet, the human doctor did something remarkable. Aaron remembered that night clearly. The equipment had been failing. The alien biology was unfamiliar. Everything had been chaos. He had simply done the only thing he could think of. Without proper Valyrian technology, Elora continued. He performed an improvised procedure using only basic human surgical tools. Some delegates looked shocked. Primitive equipment, one whispered. He stabilized her heart and reconstructed damaged tissue manually, Elora said. It was something most of us believed impossible. Aaron rubbed his face. I just guessed half of it, he muttered. Then Professor Elora looked down at her daughter. This child survived because of that human. The room became quiet again. The little girl stepped forward slightly. She looked out across the massive audience. Her eyes scanned the rows of scientists and doctors. Aaron shifted in his seat, hoping the attention would move somewhere else. Then the child suddenly froze. Her gaze locked onto someone. Slowly, she raised her hand and pointed directly at Aaron. Mom, she said softly. That's him. The entire room went silent. Hundreds of alien scientists turned their heads at the same time. Aaron felt every eye in the hall land on him. He slowly raised a hand. Hi. No one laughed. Professor Elora's expression softened as she looked toward him. Yes, she said gently. That is the doctor who saved my daughter's life. Aaron suddenly felt very small sitting in the middle of the room. He stood awkwardly as whispers spread through the hall. That's him. A human performed the procedure. With primitive tools. The child walked toward him across the floating platform. Her eyes sparkled with excitement. You fixed my heart, she said. Aaron knelt down so he was at her eye level. Well, he said softly, your heart did most of the work. I just helped it along. She smiled. I remember you. You were pretty unconscious at the time, Aaron said. My species remembers more than most, she replied proudly. The audience watched the exchange in silence. Professor Elora stepped closer. For 3 years we studied the medical data from that procedure, she said. The techniques this human doctor used were unconventional. Aaron laughed quietly. That's a polite way of saying messy. But they worked, Elora said. She turned to the audience. In fact, they inspired new research into hybrid medical approaches that combine human improvisation with advanced Valyrian biology. The room buzzed with interest. Aaron blinked. Wait, seriously? Elora nodded. Human doctors possess something rare in advanced civilizations. What's that? Aaron asked. Adaptability. She smiled warmly. You did not have perfect technology. You did not fully understand our biology. Yet you still found a way. The little girl grabbed Aaron's hand happily. You're my hero, she said. Aaron chuckled awkwardly. I'm just a guy who was in the right place at the right time. But Professor Elora shook her head. No, Dr. Blake. You were something far more important. The hall grew quiet again. You were someone who refused to give up on a life. Even when everything seemed impossible. The audience slowly began to applaud. Not loud or dramatic, but respectful. Dozens of alien scientists, some from species far older and more advanced than humanity, were applauding a simple human trauma doctor. Aaron scratched his head. Well, this is definitely not how I expected today to go. The little girl squeezed his hand again. Mom told me I should thank you when I met you. You don't have to, Aaron said. But I want to. She hugged him tightly. And for the first time in the entire summit, the room filled with warm laughter. 'Cause sometimes, even in a galaxy filled with advanced technology and brilliant minds, the most important thing in medicine was still something very simple. A doctor who refused to let someone die.